After the praise Almighty Yah, and we are going to enter into the next segment of our Yah Sabbath service. And today we're going to talk about who is the Messiah, and we're going to go into who is the actual king that the Almighty said will rule the earth in the last days. Many people have been teaching, and in the New Testament it teaches that the individual that will rule the earth in the last days will be the so-called Christ of the New Testament. And we're here to let everybody know that, number one, this is not the case. And what we want to do is we want to have everybody to please open up their hearts, open up their minds and their spirits, and go into some of these scriptures with us and explore them with us. And the first thing we want to do is we want to go to the book of Proverbs, the 3rd chapter. That's where we want to start. And this is something that I'm sure you all have memorized, but before we go into our lesson, we want to just read. Hallelujah. So Proverbs, the 3rd chapter, we're going to start out and we're going to start in the 5th verse.
Trust in Yahweh with all your heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding.
I'm sorry, let's start in the 1st verse, if you don't mind.
Proverbs chapter 3, verse 1. My son, forget not my law, but let thine heart keep my commandments. For length of days and long life and peace shall they add to thee.
So this is King Solomon speaking as he documented the words that the Almighty put in his heart and the wisdom that the mighty Yah gave him. And he is saying, my son, forget not my law. In other words, when he says my law, he's talking about the things that are his instruction. Number one, that the Almighty passed along to him from the law of Yah, and also the things that he uttered out of his mouth as the words of wisdom that he passed down. Go ahead.
Let not mercy and truth forsake thee. Bind them about thy neck. Write them upon the table of thine heart. So shalt thou find favor and good understanding in the sight of Elohim and man. Trust in Yahweh with all thine heart.
And it said, trust in Yah with how much of your heart? All of thine heart. Go ahead.
And lean not unto thine own understanding.
And lean not into thy own understanding. Because sometimes we can read certain things in this book, and we can read it right there, and we'll see it right there, but we just can't believe it. We can't accept it for what it's saying. But this is a word of wisdom. It says, trust in Yah with how much of thy heart?
All thy heart.
All thy heart. And lean not unto your own understanding. Go ahead, brother.
In all thy ways acknowledge him.
In all of your ways acknowledge him. In other words, when you're going to make any decision in your life, whether that decision is about marriage, whether that decision is about what should I do on the Sabbath day, whether that decision is about what type of clothes should I buy, what kind of food should I buy, it says, in all of thy ways acknowledge him, and see what he has to say about the matter. Go ahead.
And he shall direct thy path.
And he's going to give you the answer. And he shall direct thy paths. Go ahead.
Be not wise in thine own eyes. Fear Yahweh and depart from evil.
Be not wise in thy own eyes. Because, see, we as man have a way of wanting to see things the way we want to see it. The Almighty tells us, thou shalt have no other gods before me. Then we have to follow another person and say, well, I see that little God they have hanging on their wall. I want that God to be my God. I see how much joy that person's God brings to them. I see how happy they are. I see the riches that they have accumulated. I think I want that God. And the Almighty says, be not wise in your own eyes, but fear Yah and depart from these things. And we follow the mighty Yah's instruction. So that's the first thing that we are to keep in mind as we go through this journey. Now let us go to the book of Psalms, the 119th chapter, verse 18. Psalms 119, verse 18.
Psalms 119, verse 18. Open thou mine eyes, that I may behold thy wondrous things out of thy law.
It says, open thou mine eyes, Almighty Yah. And anytime you all go in to read the book, and there's things that sometimes it's things that's difficult for us to understand. We always want to ask the Almighty to say, Yah, please open my eyes as I pick up your book, because there's a lot of secrets that are in this book. There's a lot of things that are in this book that the average man cannot understand. And that's why it says, open thou my eyes, Yah. This is a prayer that we should always pray to Yah. Open thou my eyes that I may what?
I'm sorry. Open up mine eyes that I may behold thy wondrous things out of thy law.
That I may behold wondrous things out of thy law. In other words, the things that the average person cannot see. Now, if we can, let's go back to the book of Psalms. And we're going to go to Psalms, the 25th chapter. And this is all just preparing you all and putting you in the right spirit and in the right mood, so that once we start to read the actual scripts, you'll have the right spirit to be able to accept the word of Yah, because it's going to be plain and clear. You're going to be able to read it for yourself. And one thing that you don't want to do is you don't want your heart to fight against what your very eyes are seeing. You want to be able to trust in Yah with all your heart and not lean to your own understanding. Psalm 25 in the 14th verse.
Psalm 25 verse 14. The secret of Yahweh is with them that fear him.
The what?
The secret
of Yah. So undoubtedly the Almighty, who has created the heavens and earth, he never told anybody how he created the sun, did he? So that's a secret. So the Almighty has many secret things. And it says, so he has secret things about his creation, and he's got secrets in his laws, in his book. And that's why it says, what again, my brother?
The secret thing of Yahweh is with them that fear him.
The secret of Yahweh is with them that fear him.
And he will show them his covenant.
And he will show those that fear him his covenant. He will show those that fear him the covenant that he made with the sun, the covenant that he made with the moon, the covenant that he made with Israel, the covenant that he made with the one ruler that will be the king to rule this earth in the last days. He's going to show them those covenants, those that fear him. He's going to allow them to see through the things that he has written. Whereas to the average individual can read them, but they won't be able to see through them. Let's now go to the book of, let's go to Psalms 147 while we're in the book of Psalms. And if you all have a pen and paper, it'll do you good to write these down so that you'll be able to go back and study them on your own and be able to study them again. Because one thing you're going to find out is if you read them here today and you go home and read them again, what I'm saying is not going to change. What's going to change is when other people get to whispering in your ear, when other people get to telling you things that's different without scriptures. But when you go by the word of Yah, this is when you're going to be able to understand his covenant, when you start fearing him and when you trust in him with all your heart. And another thing that my brother spoke on when he was up here, he was talking about resistance. And one thing that we got to realize that if you want to be a professional in anything, if you want to be a professional in something, it takes resistance time. It takes time of study. So just like when a doctor goes in and operates, they don't just go in and operate. It takes them years and years of study and sitting under another doctor before they'll be able to go and do their own surgery. So it takes hours of book study, first of all. And that's just like the same thing in any profession, just like you in your profession. As dealing with a salon, somebody right off the street is not going to be able to just come in and do like you do, who haven't had the training, who haven't had the time in, the repetition in doing the work. This is what allows you to be able to strengthen yourself, the repetition of reading the words of the Almighty, that resistance of staying up and exercising yourself to study his word. And that's the same thing in any profession you are involved in. I don't care what it is. In order to gain the knowledge and the skill, you have to do it in a repetitive basis. And like we also said, it has to be practiced the right way. So perfect practice make perfect. Because you can't practice something the incorrect way. You learn how to drive, and you keep practicing the wrong way, then you're going to learn how to drive the wrong way.
Right.
So you have to practice things perfectly. Psalms 147 and the 19th and 20th verse.
Psalms 147, 19.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Psalms 147, the 19th and the 20th verse. And what I want to tell you all, that we, being the children of Israel, this is who you are. And this is why I want you all to memorize this book right here. Because the Almighty is going to do wondrous things with the children of Israel. The Almighty is going to do wonderful things with us if we just fear him. And he's going to do something wonderful with me, but he's going to do something different, wonderful with and for you. He's going to give you a different element of strength. And that's why it's so important for you to, number one, memorize this and understand who you are. And don't worry about what everybody else do, but worry about what the Almighty has commanded you to do and practice that so that he can strengthen you. Psalms 147, and we're going to start in the 19th verse.
Psalms 147, 19. He showeth his word unto Jacob.
He showeth his word unto Jacob. It didn't say he showeth his word unto the world. First of all, he have a subset of nations or people on this earth that he shows them to. But then within that subset of people, he shows them within Jacob, he shows them more and more to those that fear him. So not everybody in Jacob is even going to understand the word of Yah the same way. Just like not everybody in Jacob can sing the same way. I wish I could sing and rap like some of the people out here, but I just don't have it like that. The Almighty has blessed me with a different gift. And this is one thing that's incumbent on you, to know and trust Yah and know that he has blessed each and every one of you all with some talent, some gift. Because that's what the word Israel means. He that have what?
Fought with Elohim.
He that have power with Elohim and man, and have what?
Prevailed.
You have prevailed through that power. You have succeeded through that power. You a winner. You were born a winner.
Hallelujah.
And that's why it says in the 19th verse, let's read that again.
He showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He hath not dealt so with any nation.
So as far as showing his word, he have not dealt so in this manner with any other nation.
And as far as his judgments,
And as far as Yah's judgments,
they have not
truly known them.
Praise ye Yah.
Praise ye Yah. And they've known some of them, because the Almighty is the God of the earth, the creator of the heavens and earth. So I said that to say this. A brother gave me these this pamphlet right here, and it says the laws, all 613 commandments. And we have been told that it's only 613 commandments. And what I'm saying is I've never counted them all. But what I am saying, unless Jacob counts them, that's the only way you're going to get a true number. So if whoever counted these laws wasn't Jacob, then this number is not right. Because it says what in the 19th verse again? He showed his word to who?
To Jacob.
He showed his laws to Jacob. So if this 613 ain't a number that Jacob named, then I'm not going to rely on it. And I'm not going to put my bottom dollar and say, yeah, it's only 613. It could be 1226. It could be 3 times that. I mean, I just don't know. I've never counted them. But what I will say is unless Jacob came up with this number, then I'm not going to bet my bottom dollar on. Hallelujah. Because that's who he showed his word to. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Let us now go to the book of Amos, the 3rd chapter. And for any of you that's struggling, Amos is past Psalms, is past Isaiah, past Daniel, past Hosea, Joel, and then there's Amos. And it's before Obadiah, before Zechariah, after Joel. Amos, the 3rd chapter. Amos 3, and we're going to go to the 7th verse. No, I'm sorry. Let's go to the, let's start in the 1st verse.
Amos chapter 3,
Verse 1.
verse 1. Hear this word that Yahweh has spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family which I have brought up from the land of Egypt.
So this is who he's talking to. It says, hear this word which I have spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family which I have brought out of the land of Egypt. And why did he speak this word against us? Because, like the brother just said, Yah chose us. He went into a covenant with us. He did all these great things for us, and then we forsook him. And this is why we landed upon the shores of America and also scattered throughout the four corners of the earth because of our disobedience unto him. And this is why he says, hear this word of Yah, which Yah hath spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family which I have brought out of the land of Egypt, saying, what?
You only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore I will punish you for all your iniquities.
You only have I known of all the families of the earth. You only have I went into a covenant with of all the families of the earth. Therefore, and I've chosen you, and I've done special things for you, and I've anointed you. Therefore, when you do wrong against me, therefore I'm going to punish you for your iniquities. So Jacob can get punished for iniquities that other nations may not get punished for. And that's why he says, you only have I known of all the nations of the earth, therefore will I punish you for your iniquities. Now let's go down to the 7th verse.
Surely Yahweh Elohim will do nothing.
I want y'all to pay very close attention to this. Surely Yah Elohim, the Most High, will do nothing. Go ahead.
But he revealeth his secret unto his servants.
He will do nothing but he revealed his secrets unto his servants, the prophets. In other words, he has such a great relationship with Israel that he always tells his prophets what he's going to do in advance so that they can go tell the people. And this is what their job was, is to go and warn the people and to go tell the people. This is what the job of Moses was. When the Almighty delivered the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt, Moses' job was to lead them and to give them the law and to let them know, like, hey, Yahweh have anointed you. Yahweh said, if you do all these things, I will put all these blessings upon you. But if you do contrary to his laws, then he will put what on? All of these curses. And here we are today. But I wanted you all to know that it says, surely Yah will do nothing, but he reveals his secrets unto his servants, the prophets. And now what I want to do is I want to go through some of the things that he revealed, some of the secrets that he revealed to his servants, the prophets. Let us start out in the book of, let's start out in the book of Ezekiel. That's a good one, a good place that I like to start. We're going to go to Ezekiel, the 34th chapter. Ezekiel 34. And let's start in the first verse.
Ezekiel 34 and 1. And the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, prophesy against the shepherd.
And what did I tell you all before? Ezekiel being a prophet, the Almighty spoke to Ezekiel. The Almighty spoke to his prophets. Surely he would do nothing, but he revealed his secrets unto his servants, the prophet. And this is one of the secrets that he revealed unto Ezekiel. It says, the word of Yahweh came unto me, Ezekiel, saying what?
Prophesy against the shepherds of Israel.
Son of man, I want you to go prophesy against the shepherds of Israel. And who are the shepherds of Israel?
Leaders.
The shepherds are the spiritual and religious leaders among our people. And those that have stepped up in an attempt to lead our people in a spiritual manner and teach them about God, or teach them about Yahweh, or teach them about the Most High. This is who he's talking to. Go ahead. Prophesy against them and say what?
Prophesy and say unto them, Thus saith Yahweh unto the shepherds, Woe be to the shepherds of Israel that do feed themselves. Should not the shepherds feed the flock?
And this is who the shepherds are supposed to feed. The shepherds are supposed to feed the flock. The shepherds are not supposed to become and being paid hirelings for the people. Because when the people start paying you, that's when the people start controlling you. That's when the people who pay the most can come in and say, you know what? We want you to stop teaching this. We want you to stop teaching that. We want you to teach it like this. So none of the Almighty's servants, his true servants, were paid men. They were people who the Almighty anointed, who the Almighty gave a certain spirit to, first of all, to be able to understand his word, and then who had, number one, the ability to deliver his word, and then the next thing is who had the courage to deliver Yah's word. Because when you go before Israel, it takes a great amount of courage to go deliver this word. Because see, Israel want to do what they want to do. And the Almighty say that, he said, they will not hearken unto thee, for they shall not hearken unto me. So like I remember Moray Dan used to say, you know what, sometimes when we going out on a mission impossible. These black folks that listen to the Most High, so they, you know they ain't going to listen to you. So a lot of times we going out on a mission impossible because our people have that spirit. We are the most rebellious people on the face of this earth. It's in our DNA. That's who we are. That's the inner struggle that lies within our people. But keep going, please.
Ye eat the fat, and ye clothe with the wool. Ye kill them that are fed, but you feed not the flock.
And this is what a lot of these preachers do. This is what a lot of these men who call themselves reverends do. Is that they're paid men that go out and they teach. Number one, they're teaching under the guidance of a false doctrine, under the doctrine of man. They're not teaching the word of Yah. And then second of all, they want the people to take care of them. They're driving these big fancy Cadillacs and living in these big homes that the people bought. You know, so that's just, you know, something. I'm not going to get all into that. But one thing that let's go down to the 4th verse. Let's keep going.
The disease have you not strengthened, neither have you healed that which was sick, neither have you bound up that which was broken, neither have you brought again that which was driven away.
You see, this is the job. And how do we deliver? How do we strengthen our people? The only way we strengthen our people is to give them the law of Yah and to help them turn back to Yah. Because the Almighty is our source of strength and power. And the only way you're going to reap the benefits from that strength from that source of power is when you develop a personal relationship with the Almighty. And you develop a personal relationship with the Almighty by being obedient to him. And by understand what his word is, understand what does he require of thee. And then when you understand what he requires of you, and then you do what he requires of you. And then once you do that, that's how you develop a personal relationship with the Almighty. And that's how you then take on your power. That's how you get your power. Because that's the source of our power. But in any event, I wanted to read that. And let's go ahead and skip down. Let's go down. I want to get right into the meat of talking about King David. Let's go down to we're in Ezekiel the 34th chapter, and let's go down to the 19th verse, because we want to get right to the meat. We want to cut right through the chase.
As for my flock, they eat that which ye have trodden with your feet, and they drink that which ye have fouled with your feet.
And this is still talking about the false prophets, what the false shepherds have done. Go ahead.
Therefore, thus saith Yahweh Elohim unto them, Behold, I, even I, will judge between the fat cattle and between the lean cattle, because ye have thrust with side and with shoulder, and pushed all the disease with your horns, till ye have scattered them abroad. And
this is just talking about how they have scattered our people in all different kind of directions, because they're not giving our people the right doctrine. And the only way that you're able to go in the right direction is if you have the right set of instructions. That's just like going on a treasure, what do you call that thing, a treasure hunt? If I give you a treasure hunt, you have to have the right directions, the right map. If I give you a treasure hunt, you go on a treasure hunt, and you got the wrong directions, and you're going to go off in the wrong way. But if you go on a treasure hunt, and you follow the directions, take 2 steps forward, then go to the right 5 steps. If you follow those steps exactly how there are defined with the right instructions, then you're going to be heading in the right direction. And this is the same way it is with the word of the Almighty. If you follow his instructions, you're going to be heading in the right directions. Keep going.
Therefore will I save my flock and they shall no more be a prey.
And this is what the Most High said. He said, in the last day, I'm going to save my people. And no more shall they be a prey under these false doctrines, under these false gods, under a picture that hangs on the wall. Go ahead.
Therefore will I save my flock, and they shall no more be a prey. And I will judge between cattle and cattle. And I will set up one shepherd over them.
And this is talking about in the last days. And he said he will set up how many shepherds over them? One shepherd shall he set over them. And we're going to find out who that one shepherd is. Is that one shepherd JC of the New Testament? Or is that one shepherd somebody else? And this is what we're going to find out. Keep going.
And he shall feed them, even my servant David.
Even who?
Even my servant David.
Even my servant David. This is who that one shepherd is. Let's read that one more time, all the way through.
And I will set up over them one shepherd, and he shall feed them, even my servant David. And he shall feed them, and he shall be their shepherd. And I, Yahweh, will be their Elohim, and my servant David's a prince of... And I, Yahweh, will be their Elohim, and my servant David a prince among them.
And my servant David will be a prince among them. And this is talking about in the last days. And we got 100 more scriptures that we're going to show you to validate this. Let's go to the book of Ezekiel, the 37th chapter, because it's going to get better and better. It's going to become clearer and clearer. Ezekiel 37. And a lot of people think that this is going to be a seed of David. But we're going to prove that to be invalid as well today. It's going to be clarified today. Whether it's talking about David himself or whether it's talking about a seed of David. And you're going to read this for yourself in multiple places. Starting right here. Ezekiel 37 verse 21.
And say unto them, Thus saith Yahweh Elohim, Behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whither they be gone.
He said, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, where they be what? Where they be gone. And this is where we're at. We be gone out of our land.
And will gather them on every side and bring them into their own
And he
land.
said, I will gather them on every side from the four corners of the earth, and I will bring them into their own land. Go ahead.
And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel. And one king shall be king to
So he
them
said,
all.
I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel. And when he said that, in other words, we shall no more be divided into Israel, into Yehuda anymore. We shall be one kingdom once again. And if you read further up in this chapter, the Almighty talks about how he's going to bring those sticks together. And that's something that you can read. I'm not going to go into the in-depths of that, but you can read that. 36 and 37, you can also read about the valley of the dry bones in these chapters. But we're not going to go that deep into it. We can come back, but we just want to cut to the chase. Go ahead.
And I will make them one nation upon the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be king unto them all. And they shall no more be two nations, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms any more at all. Neither shall they defile themselves any more with their idols.
Neither shall they defile themselves any more with these which worshiping Christ. Neither shall they defile themselves anymore, worshiping the gods of the other nations. But they shall worship me, saith Yah. We're not going to worship the God that the Gentiles gave us. We're going to worship our true and living Creator. And this is what he's saying. He says, I'm going to gather you back. And he says, neither shall they defile themselves anymore with their idols, 23rd verse.
Nor with their detestable things, nor with any of their transgressions. But I will save them out of all of their dwelling places wherein they have sinned, and will cleanse them. So shall they be my people, and I will be their Elohim. And David, my servant, shall be king.
Slow down a little bit, brother. 24th verse again. Slow down, but go ahead. And who?
And David, my servant, shall be king over them.
And David, my servant, shall be king over them when this happened. And the question is when will this be? See, because at this time, David was already dead during this time. David had already died. And we're going to show you where the Almighty is going to resurrect David. Keep going.
And they shall have one shepherd, and they shall also walk in my judgments, and observe my statutes, and do them. And they shall dwell in the land that I have given unto Jacob my servant.
So we're not going to go to heaven. The Almighty is going to restore our land back unto us. He's going to restore. That's the promised land. The promised land is not in the sky. The promised land is the land that he promised our forefathers. Go ahead.
And they shall dwell therein where your fathers have dwelt. And they shall dwell therein, even they and their children and their children's children forever.
How long? Forever. And this is how you know what this is saying, because it says forever. Excuse me. Forever. Go ahead. 26th verse.
Even they and their children and their children's children forever. And my servant David shall be their prince forever.
How long did it say? My servant David. I'm sorry, it's just a little distracting up here, that's all. Moreover, what verse we in again?
25.
25, go ahead, please.
Even they and their children's children forever. And my servant David shall be their prince forever. Moreover, I will make a covenant of peace with them, and it shall be an everlasting covenant with them.
How long covenant? An everlasting covenant. The Almighty know what everlasting means. And everlasting, if it means, for everlasting means from the time that it's implemented, how long? Forever. Everlasting. Go ahead.
And I will place them and multiply them, and will set my sanctuary in the midst of them forevermore. My tabernacle shall be with them. Yea, I will be their Elohim, and they shall be my people.
And anytime you read where it says, I will be their Elohim, and they shall be my people, that's talking about when the Almighty has completely cleansed our hearts and brought us back as a people, and we will no longer, this is talking about after the new covenant has been implemented. This is the time that that's talking about. Anytime that you read, and I will be their Elohim, and they shall be my people, it's talking about the time period where the Almighty has completely cleansed our heart, given us a new spirit, and we shall not go after any other gods anymore. We will have a permanent relationship with the Almighty.
And the heathen shall know that I, Yahweh, do sanctify Israel, when my sanctuary shall be in the midst of them forevermore.
So the Almighty is going to sanctify Israel forevermore. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Let's now go to the book of Psalms, the 89th chapter. Because this word is all through the book. Who he said was going to be the reigning king forever. And the Almighty characterized David as a man after his own what? After his own heart. He said, this is a man that I've created that has a heart after my own heart. Even though David did commit adultery, the Almighty did understand that we are as the dust of the earth. Just like many of us have done many wicked things. No, just like all of us have done many wicked things. Not some of us, all of us. And just how the Almighty have still had mercy upon us. And how we're still here today. See, we're the minority. We are the minority. And like I've always said, that the righteous have always been the minority in the earth. Even when the days that our people reign, the righteous have always been the minority in the earth. So don't feel like, well, it's just only us a little bit of people, so we got to, we got to follow what everybody else knows. That's always been the case. In the days of Noah, Noah and his family were the minority in the earth. And that's why the Almighty destroyed the earth with a flood. And this is why these men are notable, because they actually followed Yah when everybody else was doing wickedly. So you can do it. We can do it if you want to do it. You can definitely do it. And it's because you make a mistake sometimes, don't give up on the Almighty. And don't feel like because I made a mistake, I can't do it, or the Almighty has cast me away. You have to keep on and keep on trying. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Where did I say go?
89.
Let's go to Psalms 89. Psalms 89, let's start in the first verse.
Psalms 89, verse 1. I will sing of the mercies of Yahweh forever. With my mouth I will make known thy faithfulness to all generations.
I will make known thy faithfulness to all generations. See, the word of the Almighty is going forward to all generations. His word is not going to change once you get so many generations down, and now we under a new dispensation. No. The word of the Almighty goes to all generations. Go ahead.
For I have said, mercy shall be built up forever. Thy faithfulness shalt thou establish in the very heavens. I have made a covenant with my chosen, I have sworn unto David my servant, thy seed will I establish forever, and build up thy throne to all generations.
This is what the Almighty.
Wow.
This is what the Almighty swore unto David. He said, and when the Almighty is not like us, when the Almighty makes a covenant with us, He sticks to His part of the agreement. And that's why it says Yahweh made a covenant with us. See, it's us who didn't keep our part of the covenant.
Right.
And that's why we had to make, that's why Yahweh made a new covenant. But that covenant is going to be that same covenant, those same laws. It'll be a new covenant, but it'll be the same laws. And it'll be that same, just like we're looking in the book today, the Almighty is going to write those laws in our hearts. And we're going to automatically know to do right. We're going to automatically live in a state of peace among one another.
Hallelujah.
We're going to automatically love our neighbor as you love yourself. You're going to automatically know to worship only Yah. You're going to automatically have it in your spirit to serve Yah and no other God. Let's go down to the 18th verse.
For Yahweh is our defense, the Holy One of Israel is our King. Then thou spakest in the vision to thy Holy One, and saidest, I have laid up help upon one that is mighty.
You see, this is what Yah does. It says, then thou spakest in vision to thy Holy One. Go ahead.
And saidest, I have laid help upon one that is mighty.
I have laid help. Yahweh said, I have laid earthly help for me upon how many that's mighty?
One that
upon one that is mighty. We're in the book of Psalms 89. And we're in the 19th verse.
I have exalted one person out of the people.
I have exalted one person out of the people. And we're going to see who this one person is. Many Christians will tell you that that one person is JC. But Yah said, I have exalted one person out of all the people when I make my everlasting covenant. Go ahead.
I have found David, my servant, with my holy oil.
This is who I have found. I have found David to be a man after my own heart. I have found him out even though I had Noah that served me. Even though Job served me. Even though Abraham served me. Even though I took Elijah up, I have found one that I have anointed. And I chose one that I've anointed because he had all the characteristics that it took to rule this people, to be in this position. Even though Abraham was my friend. Even though Moses was a friend of mine. And I spoke with Moses face to face as a man speaketh unto his friend. Mouth to mouth as a man speaketh unto his friend. The Almighty said in the book of, I think it's Numbers, the 12th chapter, I think, and it talks about Moses and Aaron. It says that Moses and Aaron spake against Moses. Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses. They spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married, for he had married an Ethiopian woman. Then it says the cloud of Yahweh came, or the anger of Yahweh was kindled against them, and said, why have ye spoken against my servant? He said, if Yahweh, if there be a prophet amongst you, I Yahweh will make myself known unto him in a dream and in a vision.
Him in a vision.
My servant Moses not so, who is faithful in all my house. With him will I speak mouth to mouth, even apparently,
and not in dark speeches.
Hallelujah. So this is what the Almighty told Miriam and Aaron, who were also prophets and prophetess. He said, I have chosen Moses. Why then were ye not afraid to speak against this man? And this is why we have to be very careful who we speak against. Let not your tongue speak evil against your neighbor, because you just never know who the Almighty had favor with.
Yeah.
But in any event, right here, the Almighty said in the 20th verse, he says, I have found, and even though my point was that even though the Almighty made these statements against Moses, it wasn't even Moses who Yah chose to sit in this position. It was David. Because David had all the characteristics that Yah saw. For some reason, I don't know, I can't name them all, but the Almighty saw it. And he said in 89 and 20, what did he say again?
I have found David, my servant. With my holy oil I anointed him.
I have found David, my servant. With my holy oil have I anointed him. Go ahead.
With whom my hand shall be established.
With David, this is whom my hand shall be established.
Mine arm also shall strengthen him.
My arm shall also strengthen who?
Him.
Him, David. Go ahead.
The enemy shall not exact upon him, nor the son of wickedness afflict him. And I will beat down his foes before his face.
And even though David was a heck of a warrior, Yahweh said, I'm going to beat down his foes before his face. And that's one thing we got to remember. Sometimes we got to allow the Almighty. We always think we got to go fight the war. Sometimes we just got to let the Almighty call upon Yah and send Yahweh after them. Say, Yah, they've been oppressing me. Go to Yahweh, please take care of this situation for me. And this is how the Almighty is going to deal with David's enemies. He's not going to make David some super samurai who's going to be doing all these somersaults. He said, no, I'm going to do the work. I'm going to beat David down before you, beat his enemies down before him. Go ahead.
And I will beat down his foes before his face, and I will plague them that hate him.
He says, and I will plague them. So Yahweh got his own set of plagues waiting to get on David's enemies. I will plague them that hate him. Go ahead.
But my faithfulness and my mercy shall be with him, and my name and in my name shall his horn be exalted. And I will set his hand in the sea and his right hand in the rivers.
I will set his hand in the sea. In other words, I will give him worldwide dominion. I will set his hand also in the sea and his right hand in the rivers. 26th verse.
He shall cry unto me, Thou art my Father, my Elohim, and the rock of my salvation. And I will make, excuse me, and I will make him my firstborn, higher than the kings of the earth.
So there are also going to be other kings of the earth who are going to have to submit to David. Because there are also going to be other nations of people who are going to come up to Jerusalem and say, you know what, we have heard that Yahweh is with thee. People are going to come up to Jerusalem and say, you know what, in the last day, we're going to go up to the mountain of the house of Yah. And we're going to learn his ways. Because the Almighty is going to give David the power to re-implement his righteous government. And this is what we're going to read also today, how it talks about the branch. Because sometimes when you read, some people get confused. And they tell you that JC is the branch. But the branch is referred to as different things. Sometimes David himself is referred to as the branch. Sometimes he's referred to as a branch. And then sometimes Yah's government is referred to as the branch. And Yah, the reestablishment of Yah's kingdom. And we're going to read those things today as well. Keep going, please.
My mercy will I keep for him forevermore, and my covenant shall stand fast with him. His seed also will I make to endure forever, and his throne as the days of heaven. If his children forsake my law and walk not in my judgments, if they break my statutes and keep not my commandments, then I will visit their transgression with the rod, and their iniquity with stripes.
See, the Almighty knew that David's people was going to forsake him. And that's why he told, when Solomon built the temple, he told Solomon, if I kick you out of this land and you turn back to me and I scatter you and you turn back to me and repent, then I will gather you back again. I'll hear you. Yahweh hearkened to Solomon when Solomon made that request. But keep going.
Nevertheless, my loving kindness will I not utterly take from him.
So in other words, like Yah said he visited the iniquities of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generations of them that hate him, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that what? Love him and keep his commandments. So Yah also knew, just like there will be a set of figs, like the Almighty talk about the good figs and the bad figs, Yahweh knew that there was going to be a set of our people that were going to be wicked. He also knew that there were going to be a few of us that were going to be righteous. A few of you all that would attend his holy convocations as he command. When Yahweh says, in the Ten Commandments, when Yahweh speak about his Sabbath days, when it says what? Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But on the Sabbath day, what? The seventh day is the Sabbath of Yah. And you shall not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant. See, a lot of people even want to cheat Yahweh on that. They want to say, well, I'm not going to do any work, but I'm going to have my manservant do some work. I'm going to have my children do work, but that's not what Yah commands. He said, don't even make your ox and your ass do no work. And when he say do work, he's talking about work in service that's other, work that's in the service and doing things that's other than to the service of him. So in other words, I get up and work on the Sabbath every week. I work on the lesson. I work to try to make sure that we can have things running smoothly in the congregation. We got readers that get back there and work. And working is just exerting of energy, right? We got the elder over here. She works on the computer. We got the sister Abigail who works to do works on the camera. We got security that works to make sure our place is safe. But this is all in the service of Yah. This is not in the service of us like us going out on our jobs and us doing other kind of works and earning money. This is a whole different type of work. And that's why Yah said that we're supposed to remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Keep going. Let's go back to, tell them where we at in Psalms 89.
Psalms 89, verse 33. Nevertheless, my loving kindness will I not utterly take from him, nor suffer my faithfulness to fail.
Okay, that's good. Let's go to Psalm 132. Write that chapter down and y'all can study that at home. Let's go to Psalm 132. While we right there in Psalms. Psalm 32 and verse 10.
Psalms 32 or 132?
132, sorry about that. Psalms 132 and verse 10.
For thy servant David's sake, turn not away the face of thy anointed. For Yahweh hath sworn in truth unto David, he will not turn from it. Of the fruit of thy body will I set upon thy throne, if thy children keep my covenant.
If thy children keep my covenant. See, David was supposed to have a lineage always sitting upon the throne. That was the promise. Just like our people were always supposed to be blessed and living in our land if we did that. But if we didn't do that, then Yah had another alternative for us as well. But go ahead.
If thy children keep my covenant and my testimony that I shall teach them, their children shall also sit upon thy throne forevermore. For Yahweh hath chosen Zion, he hath desired it for his habitation.
This is where Yahweh chose his habitation, not Mecca. This is where Yahweh hath chose his earthly habitation. Go ahead.
This is my rest forever.
This is my rest forever, Yah said. So Yah knew, just don't think just because we not in the land right now, that that's still not his favorite place. It's just a short time that Yah has cast us out of the land. He's going to bring us back and he's going to reestablish that entire land. Keep going.
For I have desired it. I will abundantly bless her provision. I will satisfy her poor with bread. I will also clothe her priests with salvation, and her saints will shout aloud for joy. Therefore will I make the horn of David to bud.
Pay very close to this. Pay very close attention to this.
There will I make the horn of David to bud. I have ordained a lamp for mine anointed. His enemies will I clothe with shame.
His enemies will I clothe with shame.
But upon himself.
But upon who? Upon his son?
Upon himself.
Upon himself shall his crown flourish. So David's crown is going to flourish upon himself, not a son of his. And this is what many of the Rastafarians teach, that the lineage came down through Menelik, one of Solomon's sons, and through Menelik, through I'm not going to mention his name, but through the Rastafarian deity, Haile Selassie.
Safari Makana.
Yes, absolutely. So the thing about that is that the Almighty said here, it says his enemies will I clothe with shame, but upon himself shall his crown flourish. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Let's go to the book of Isaiah, the 9th chapter. We're going to keep this going. Because all through the book, even though somebody wants to make everybody else sit in David's seat, even many Israelites want to make Hezekiah sit in David's seat. But that's not the case. Hezekiah is not the one either. And we're going to read that. Let's go to the book of Isaiah, the 9th chapter. And that's okay. If people can't see this, the only thing that we ask is just continue to study it. Because it's there. Isaiah, the 9th chapter.
6th verse.
And just to give you all a little background about this, if you understand, let's go back to the 7th verse. the 7th chapter, there was a time where there was going to be war between Israel and Assyria were confederate against Yehuda. And there was all these things that happened, and Yah was just telling them that, listen, everything that I said shall come to pass, and you have to believe what I'm saying. And Yah said, I'm going to give you a sign. And I'm not going to get into that sign because then it gets into other things. But he says, behold, a young maiden shall conceive and bear a child, and they shall call his name Emmanuel. And then over in the 8th chapter, it actually shows where that son was born. Okay? And a lot of times people try to say that this was the fulfillment of that prophecy over in the New Testament. And I'm not going to get into that piece today. I'm going to focus on David, and I can come back on this. I can come back and discuss more of these scriptures to give you more in depth. Because it does require more than an hour and a half to really get down into the have a full understanding. But this is enough of it. If you trust in Yah, Yah has already told us through various scripts that that David will be his anointed, and upon himself shall his crown flourish. But let us go to the book of Isaiah, the 9th chapter. Let's go to the first verse.
Isaiah chapter 9, verse 1. Nevertheless, the dimness shall not be such as was in her vexation. When at the first he lightly afflicted the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, and afterward did more grievously afflict her by the way of the sea beyond Jordan in Galilee of the nations. The people that walked in darkness have seen a great light. They that shall dwell in the land of the shadow of death, upon them hath the light shined.
This is what it says, the people that have walked in darkness have seen a great light. And they that dwell in the shadow of the valley, the land of the shadow of death, upon them have the light shine. And the Almighty, he always keeps his promise with his people. And even though there might be times of trouble that we might go through, when the Almighty give us his word, he give us his word. And 3rd verse says, thou hast multiplied the nation and has not increased the joy. They joy before thee according to thy joy in harvest, and as men rejoice when they divide the spoil. Go ahead, 4th verse.
For thou hast broken the yoke of his burden, and the staff of his shoulder, the rod of his oppressor, as in the day of Midian.
And this is what Yah always does. Yah always comes back and save his people. And Yah always comes back and break that yoke off our neck. And then when we start to rebel, he always goes back and put that yoke back on us. Go ahead.
For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise, and garments rolled in blood. But this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. And
then it's going to talk about the last days. So in other words, sometimes we run, and one of the things you got to remember is Yah talks about prophecy. He'll give his prophets words talking about what's happening then, and then he'll skip to let them know, because I ultimately want you to know that in the last days you are going to be saved. Israel is not going to be thrown away. This has always been Yah's message. Regardless of what happened to you, Israel is always going to be my chosen people, and I'm always going to have mercy and redeem you. 6th verse.
Yeah, this next verse has some translation issues. I was just going to fit in the words.
I'll go ahead and read it myself. Isaiah 9 and 6, it says, for unto us a child is born, and unto us a son is given. And this is talking about a child is born to the nation. And that child that was born was King David. A child was born, and unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder. Now, there's no other individual although this might confuse some people, there's no other person that the Almighty ever spoke and gave this promise to. This promise was a covenant that he gave to King David. And I'm going to go on further. And his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, and not the Mighty God, but of the Mighty God, of the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Go ahead and read the 7th verse. This will further let you know that this is the only person that David was the only person that Yah has ever promised this to, and it's all throughout the book. 7th verse. Go ahead.
The increase of his government and peace there shall be no end.
And of the increase of his government and peace there shall be no end.
Upon the throne.
So what it's saying is that when the Almighty does this, there's not going to be any end. when the Almighty brings David, when the Almighty sets up David for that world rulership. Of the increase of his government and peace there shall be no end. Go ahead.
Upon the throne of David.
Upon the throne of who? David. And who's going to sit on that throne? David. And who's going to wear that crown? David. This is the only person the Almighty has ever promised that to. Go ahead.
And upon his kingdom to order it and to establish it with judgment and with justice from henceforth even forever.
To establish it with justice and judgment from henceforth even forevermore. And who else have the Almighty ever made that covenant with or said that about? King David. So even though sometimes people might not understand how it reads, don't let them trick you up and say, well, this is talking about Hezekiah. This is talking about, no, this is Yahweh. David is the only person that Yah has ever promised this type of rulership to, period. Go ahead. Then it says, the zeal of
Yahweh of hosts shall perform this.
The zeal of Yah of hosts has performed this. Let's go to the book of Jeremiah, the 11th chapter. I'm sorry, Isaiah, the 11th chapter. Because what it does is what happens is you read through the book of Isaiah, it bounces back from what's happening right then and there and what's going to happen all the way to the future, letting you know what the ultimate fate is going to be. And that's why even when you start in the 7th verse, it starts talking about Ahaz and Jotham and all of them. And then it jumps ahead and talks about the future about David. Then it bounces back. And then it goes back again to the future, letting you know that ultimately this is going to be what Yah has commanded. Look in the 11th chapter and let's go to the first verse.
Isaiah chapter 11, verse 1. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his root.
And who was Jesse? Jesse was David's father. There shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. And a branch is just you know what a branch is, like a branch, right? This is Jesse, and David was one of his children. A branch shall grow out of his roots. Go ahead.
And the Spirit of Yahweh shall rest upon him.
And the Spirit of Yahweh shall rest upon who? This individual. Go ahead.
The Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge, and of the fear of Yahweh. And he shall make him of quick understanding in the fear of Yahweh.
And it shall make him of quick understanding in the fear of Yah. This is the insight that Yahweh is going to bestow upon David.
He shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, neither reprove after the hearing of his ears.
And he's not going to be like many of us. He's not going to judge after the sight of his eyes. Because everything you see ain't what you think you see. And every time you think you hear and what people say to you ain't what you always think it is. So David is going to have a better insight on judgment than what we have learned to have. And that's why it says, and he's going to have a formula that Yah is going to give him. See, Yah gives us formulas to do things. And David is going to have a formula, and David's going to have a spirit in which he's going to be able to judge things. And that's why Yah is going to make him that the highest judge on the earth. Keep going.
But with righteousness shall he judge the poor, and reprove with equity for the meek of the earth. And he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth.
He's going to smite the what?
He shall smite the earth.
He's going to smite the earth with the rod of his mouth. In other words, he's going to say, Yahweh, I need you to do this. And Yah said what? Yah said he will plague David's enemies. See, that's how they did. We just read that. So David's going to slay the earth with the rod of his lips. In other words, he's going to ask Yahweh to fix this situation, and Yah is going to plague his enemies. It's going to be Yah that's going to do the work. Keep going.
And with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked, and righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his reins. The wolf shall also dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid.
And it says, righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins. In other words, this is what he's going to be made out of. He's going to be a man built, and his entire thoroughness is going to be righteousness. Righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his reins. So in other words, his very reins is going to have faithfulness to the laws, to the commandments, to the statutes of Yah, and to the program that Yah has laid. Because this is the spirit that Yah has put within him. Keep going.
The wolf shall also dwell with the lamb.
And now it's letting you know what time frame this is going to be. During this time frame, the wolf is going to dwell with the lamb. And this is going to be in the time of there's going to be world peace. Where you're going to have a child that's going to be able to play on the hole of an ass. We're going to be able to go down to a snake's den. And a wolf is going to be able to dwell with a lamb. Right now, you put a wolf with a lamb, what's going to happen? That wolf going to devour him. But when the Almighty comes back and put his spirit upon the earth, this is the time frame that it's talking about. The wolf shall dwell with the lamb. Go ahead.
And the leopard shall lie down with the kid.
And the leopard is going to lie down with the little baby goat. Go ahead.
And the calf and the young lion and the fatling together. And the little child shall lead.
So you're going to have this little child right here, this little young boy saying, come on, lion, like you see the Lion King. You're going to see this little, one of these little children leading a lion and leading a wolf. They're going to be out playing with the hole of a snake. Can you see that, Reuben? This is going to be a day where there's going to be world peace. Let's go to the book of, and the reason why I'm bringing that forward, because it's letting you know what time frame this is going to be. Let's go to the book of Jeremiah 30. Now, before we go to Jeremiah 30, let's go to Psalms 110, because I got a verse that I want to connect with this last verse that we just read. And you all know that I've often said that, and as we read that Yah speaks throughout the Psalms as well. And Yah, and just like we just read in Psalms 89, just like we read in Psalms 50, we read in Psalms 50. Let's go to Psalms 110. Because this is a scripture that they try to connect with JC. But this is absolutely talking about David. And the scriptures that we just read, this is going to further validate. And the thing about it, that's why I said, seek ye out of the book of Yah and read. So you're going to read over here, it's going to say something about David. You're going to read the book of Ezekiel, Brother Rashem. You're going to read over the book of Amos. You're going to be reading over the book of Hosea. And they all going to connect the dots. They all going to back one another up. And that's how you know the word of Yah, because it all connects together. It says, seek ye out of the book of Yah and read, no one of these shall fail thee, none shall want her mate. In other words, I'm not, if I go to one scripture and say that it's David, I'm not going to want a mate for that, because it's already going to be a mate in another book that's going to back that up. There's going to be a connector in another book that's going to back, and that's what we've been doing. We've been going from book to book, prophet to prophet, psalm to psalm, showing you where David is the only one that Yah made this covenant with. The sure mercies of David. Psalm 110.
Yahweh said unto my master.
And Yahweh said unto David, I want you to hold up. I want you to sit thou at my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool. And this is exactly what it said, when it says David will slay the earth with the breath of his lips. Didn't we just read that? He's going to call out to Yah and say, you my father, and Yah's going to plague David's enemies. See, all these things connect right back to one another. Sit thou at my right hand until I make thine enemies thy foothood. Second verse.
Yahweh shall send the rod of thy strength out of the Zion. Rule thou in the midst of thine enemies. David, I want you to rule thou in the midst of thine enemies. Keep going. Thy people shall be willing in the day of thy power. So David, thy people are going to be willing in the day that I set you up. Not they're going to be willing. You're going to be willing to keep the word of Yah, because that's going to be the spirit that's going to endow the entire earth. Thy people shall be willing in the day of thy power. Keep going. In the beauties of holiness from the womb of the morning. Thou hast the dew of thy youth. In other words, you have the dew of thy youth. Yah is going to resurrect David. And when he resurrects David, David is going to have the dew of his youth. He's going to have the strength of his youth. Keep going. Yahweh hath sworn and will not repent. Yahweh hath sworn, and he ain't like some of us who swear, say, well, I'm going to do this, and then we go do something else. And see, this one thing we got to learn as a people is that once we say something, that which you utter out of your lips, you shall do. And that's the same thing even with an oath or a vow. Once you said something, that's why the scriptures in the book of Psalms, the 15th chapter, where it says, who shall dwell in thy house? It says, they that swear unto thy own hurt and turneth not away from it.
In other words, if you swear to it and say, I'm going to pledge to give a donation to this sister who got burned out of $20. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing this out there, right? And then next week, you got a choice to make on whether you're going to donate that $20 or whether you're going to go out to eat or whatever, right? You swear to it. You say, well, no, you got to make that sacrifice because he that swear to his own hurt and change it not. Once you say it, you are bound to do that. Keep going on.
Yahweh has sworn and will not repent. Thou art a priest forever, after the order of Melchizedek.
And this is when he says, you are a priest forever, David, after the order of Melchizedek. And Melchizedek was not only a king, but he was also a high priest. And this is one of the things, he was a high priest of the Most High. And this is one of the seats that David is going to sit in as well. We can go into that next week, because I do have some scriptures in Ezekiel to show you all about that, but keep going.
Yahweh at thy right hand shall strike through kings in the day of his wrath. He shall judge among the heathen. He shall fill the places with dead bodies. He shall wound the heads over many countries.
Okay, let's go to Jeremiah 30. And this will be the last one, and I'll take some questions for the last 15 minutes or so before we close out. But I want you all to know that as we read these scriptures, and brother, and me and the brother had a conversation about just many things. When we had a discussion about the Hezekiah thing, and even when we read that, and I'm sorry that you had to miss the class, it'll be available on YouTube. But all throughout the scriptures, the Almighty speaks about one being anointed, and the only person He ever promised to have that kind of power in the earth was King David. And we're going to go back and read that scripture, but let's go right now to the book of Jeremiah, the 30th chapter.
Verse 7.
Let's going to start in the first verse. And this is talking about in the last days. This is talking about as we go into Jacob's troubles, what's going to happen. And if anybody got any food that they need to warm up, you may want to have somebody. I don't know if the people are doing that now, but we got some people that ain't even came yet, but we still going to break as scheduled. So let's go ahead, Jeremiah 30 and 1. Go ahead.
The word that came to Jeremiah from Yahweh saying.
The word that came to Jeremiah from who? From Yahweh. So this was Jeremiah's word that he came up with. Go ahead.
Thus speaketh Yahweh Elohim of Israel, saying, Write thee all the words that I have spoken unto thee in a book. For lo, the days come, saith Yahweh, that I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel and Yehudah, saith Yahweh, and will cause them to return to the land that I gave unto their fathers, and they shall possess it. And these are the words that Yahweh spake concerning Israel and concerning Yehudah. For thus saith Yahweh, We have heard the voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. Ask ye now, and see whether a man doth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man on his loins, as a woman in travail, and all faces turned into paleness. Alas, for that day is great, so that there is none like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved.
And this is the last day talking about Jacob's troubles. And as we read Jacob's trouble, we have another script to read on Jacob's troubles out of the book of Daniel. And we want to ask everybody that's motivating to go make food to try to do so very quietly, because we have a few more minutes for service, and we want to try to keep our focus if we can. Jeremiah, keep going, please.
For it shall come to pass in that day, saith Yahweh of hosts.
And we're in the book of Jeremiah, the 30th chapter, for anybody that just came in. Go ahead.
For it shall come to pass in that day, saith Yahweh of hosts, that I will break his yoke from off thy neck, and will burst thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves.
Strangers shall no more serve themselves of us anymore. Go ahead.
But they shall serve Yahweh their Elohim.
But they shall serve Yahweh their Elohim, talking about the last days, and who?
And David their king.
And David their king. And this is all the way after David had already died. All of these prophecies are after David had already died. Now let's go to Jeremiah 23. And what we're talking about is we're talking about David being the king that's going to rule the earth, the earthly king that's going to work hand in hand with Yah to rule the earth in the last days. Jeremiah 23.
That's where you want me to start?
I think somewhere around 15, but give me a second here and I'll let you know. Jeremiah 23. Let me see. And we're going to start in 5. Let's start in the 3rd verse.
Jeremiah chapter 23, verse 3. And I will gather the remnant of my flock out of all the countries whither I have driven them.
And what he say he's going to do? He's going to gather the remnant of his flock out of all the countries where he have driven them. And where are we at? We're in a country where Yah has driven us. Are we or are we not?
Yes, we are.
Hallelujah. Keep going.
And I will bring them again to their folds, and they shall be fruitful and increase. And I will set up shepherds over them, which shall feed them. And they shall fear no more, nor be dismayed, neither shall they be lacking, saith Yahweh. Behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch.
I will raise unto David a righteous what? A righteous branch. And in this context, he's talking about he will raise unto David a righteous government. Go ahead.
And a king shall reign.
And a king shall reign. Who is that king that's going to reign? David. That's what he's talking about. He's named nobody else. Go ahead.
And a king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. In his days, Yehudah shall be saved, and Yisrael shall dwell safely. And this is the name whereby he shall be called, Yahweh our righteousness.
This is the name in which Yahweh is going to be called. Go ahead. 7th verse.
Therefore, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that they shall no more say, Yahweh liveth, which brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But Yahweh liveth, was brought up, which led up the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country, and from all countries whither I have driven them. And they shall dwell in their own land.
So y'all, I want you all to write this down. I'm not going to elaborate a whole lot on this, but it says, it shall no more be said, Yahweh liveth, that brought the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. In other words, that's his title now. Right. Even when you read the Ten Commandments, he says, I am Yahweh thy Elohim, which what? Right. Brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. And he says, that shall no more be said. He said, but it shall be said, Yahweh liveth, that brought up the seed of the house of Israel out of the land of the north. In other words, Yah, the fame that Yah is going to get when he bring our people out of this land is going to be much greater than the fame that he got when he brought the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. Because before, he told Pharaoh to let my people go. But this time it's going to be a new thing. He's going to say, you're going to bring them back. Not let them go, but no, not only are you going to let them go, but you're going to bring them back. First class. Hallelujah. Let's go to Jeremiah 33, and this will be my last one, and then we're going to take some questions and comments if anybody have any for the last few minutes. And this is where right here, where it talks about the branch right here, when it talks about the branch in the context that the branch will be the government. Okay? And then we're going to read it in the context where it says David will be the branch. Let's go to Jeremiah 33. Well, this is not the one, but this is another one talking about the branch. The other one that I'm talking about, I believe, is in the book of Zechariah. But let's go ahead and read this. Jeremiah 33 and 14 and 15. Jeremiah 33 and 14. And, oh, he's not back there. Okay. 14 verses says, behold, the days come, saith Yah, that I will perform that good thing which I have promised unto the house of Israel and to the house of Yehudah. In those days and at that time, I will cause the branch of righteousness to grow up unto David, and he shall execute judgment and righteousness in the earth. So at that time, it says in this particular verse, it says, I will cause the branch of righteousness to grow up unto David. So it's not characterizing David as the branch, but as you can see, it's not talking about anybody else. But it says he will cause the branch of righteousness. In other words, a stem. And this is what a branch is. It's just talking about an offshoot or some type of government or something that's going to be in the form of righteousness. Let's go to the book of Zechariah, the 3rd chapter. Zechariah 3. This is when it speaks of David being the branch. When he specifically names David as the branch. Right now we're in the book of Zechariah, the 3rd chapter. Zechariah 3. And this is talking about, this is giving us a preview of Joshua the high priest's judgment. Because there's going to be a time where Yah, as it states in the book of Daniel, the 7th chapter, it says, Daniel, the 12th chapter, it says, and at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince will stand for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation even unto that same time. And that's talking about the time of Jacob's troubles. Then it says, and at that time shall thy people be delivered, everyone that shall be found written in the book. And it says, and many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth, and I'm just quoting Daniel the 12th chapter, many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life and some to shame and everlasting contempt, because there is going to be a judgment. And right here, you're going to see an example of a preview that God gave us of Joshua, the high priestess judgment, and what Satan's role is going to be. We know in the book of Job, it says the sons of Elohim were to present themselves before Yahweh, and who else came among them? Satan. And what did Satan say when he stepped up to give his report? He said, Yahweh, I've been going to and fro in the earth. I've been going around, I've been finding people and getting them to transgress. I've been going up and down in it. And I've been getting this person to rob. I've been getting this person, I've been tempting this person to steal. And they've been doing it. I've been tempting this person to do that, and they've been doing it. He's been tempting many of us to do the things that we do, and they did it. And these are the very sins that Satan is going to call before us when we come before judgment. And I'm going to give you a preview of how this is going to happen. So put yourself in this situation. This is Zechariah, the 3rd chapter. Zechariah 3 and the 1st verse.
And he showed me Joshua.
And he showed me Zechariah, the judgment day of Joshua the high priest. And during this time he was doing what? Standing before the angel of Yahweh, who was who?
And Satan standing at his right hand to resist him.
Satan was standing at his right hand. So it's like Yahweh sitting on his throne with the books open. And Joshua the high priest is just like we're going to be sitting there. And you're going to have the great prince which stand for the children of your people, like you're going to be in a court. And you're going to have your defense attorney. And that's who the angel of Yahweh is going to be. But then you're going to have that good old prosecuting attorney, who's going to be Satan. And Satan's going to be saying, Yahweh, just like I tempted Job, I tempted them to do this, and I tempted them to do that. And that's what it says in the 2nd verse. And first verse. It says, and he showed me Joshua the high priest standing before the angel of Yah, and Satan standing at his right hand to resist him, to tell Yahweh every single thing that he did. And Yahweh said unto Satan, yeah, I hear everything that you said he did. I hear all the temptations that you put before her. But Yahweh rebuked thee, O Satan, even Yahweh that have chosen Jerusalem. I'm going to forgive and pass over these sins. Even Yahweh rebuked thee. Let's read the 2nd verse again.
And Yahweh said unto Satan, Yahweh rebuke you, O Satan. Even Yahweh have chosen Jerusalem.
Even Yahweh that have chosen Jerusalem. That said that I will have mercy upon Jerusalem. Rebuke thee about all the things you said about Joshua the high priest. I'm rebuking thee. And he says, I heard everything that you said, and I heard all the wickedness that you said he did. But is this Joshua not a brand plucked out of the fire? I know he should have been worthy of death. I know he should have been worthy of burning forever, but is not this Joshua, because I'm going to forgive him, is he not a brand that I'm going to pluck out of the fire, that I'm going to have mercy upon? Go ahead.
Now Joshua was clothed with filthy garments and stood before the angel.
And this is what is giving you the story. Joshua's, and those filthy garments was indicative of his sin as he stood before the angel. Go ahead.
And he answered and spake unto those that stood before him, saying, take away the filthy garments from him.
Take away those sins. Cleanse those sins. Sprinkle some clean water on him. This is what's going to happen. What Yah's going to do, he's going to sprinkle clean water upon us. Take away those filthy garments. Go ahead.
And unto him he said, behold, I have caused thine iniquity to pass.
I have caused thine iniquity to pass by thee. This is how we know that this is a snapshot of a future event. Because Yah has already rendered the judgment, said, I've caused your judgment day. Your judgment day has passed. And as you go through this judgment day, you did all the things that Satan said you did. But you know what? I'm going to have mercy on you. Because you really did try to stick in there with me. And you did really try to serve me and honor me. And that's why he said, having mercy upon thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. And that's what I'm saying to each and every one of you right now. Satan is going to be there to try to pull up every bit of dirt that he can on each and every one of us. But the only thing that we can do is stick in there with the mighty Yah. And to stand, he's even going to be there to try to charge you with things you didn't do. This is what your enemies do. Your enemies even try to do that now. And try to charge you with things that you didn't even do. This is the way man works. This is the way Satan works. And this is the way that those who are Satan-like works. But the only thing that we can do is try to stick in there. And Yah says, I love those that favor my righteous cause. So those that do favor your righteous cause and want you to continue to be a righteous person, you'll know those people. Versus those who are going to wish evil on you. And on that note, I'm not going to go on any further because we had 2 minutes to 3. And I'm going to say hallelujah. I hope you all got something out of the lesson today. If you missed any portion of it, you can always go back and review the scriptures on YouTube. And I'll take a couple very, very quick comments. If anybody have any. No comments? All right then. Do that mean I totally lost everybody or everybody totally understood what we went through? Praise Yah, hallelujah. Yes, sir.
Shabbat shalom. I am not one who agrees completely with everything that you was teaching on the basis of I've still basically the scriptures that I've went over, you know, like yourself. Don't.
If you didn't, we can talk about it later. Because we are on YouTube, and if you don't agree, we can talk about it later. But we don't want to inject any confusion. So thank you very much.
Well,
we can always talk about it later, but if there's any questions for people who have been in this class for 20 and 30 years, we're not going to continue to revisit the same things we disagree on. We'll talk about them on the side because we don't want to confuse new people. And we, like we said, we want to ask the Almighty to help us to understand out of his book. Hallelujah. Any more comments or questions? Yes, sir.
Would you be able to just clarify some of those things that you went over then? Because it's not to dialogue or go back and forth with one another, but it's simply to get a deeper understanding of something. If you
Sure, we'll do them at the break because we are out of time. And we will also come back next week and have further conversations. All right? Is that fair? Okay. And I just want you all to know I didn't mean that it is any diss if it seemed that way, but I want you guys to know that we are on YouTube, and any member who have been here 10 and 20 years have heard these things taught before. And if you disagree, then you can pull us to the side and have a discussion with it. Is that fair? And anybody who's been here only a couple days, same thing. All right? Praise the mighty Yah. All right, on that note, what we want to do is, is there anyone that wants to bless the food?
Can I welcome my friend that came in?
Absolutely. Please welcome. Do we got any visitors that would like to? Please, we are a family here, and we love each and every one of you. Anybody who want to introduce their friend or themselves, please do.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Hello, this is my first time here. I've watched you guys on the web though, so I've been listening.
Okay, that's all over. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you guys. I feel welcomed here. This is my first time here. I've been watching you guys on the web, and I think it's awesome what you guys are talking about and getting the truth out there. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Hallelujah. And we welcome you here. Hallelujah. And if you have any questions, we can talk about them at lunchtime. And or what we can do is we also have these videos that'll be available on YouTube to where you can go back and you can study them and take your time and you can pray on them. And if it's something you don't agree with or understand, just go back and take your time and study. Okay? And then we can be able to come back and talk. Any additional questions? Anybody want to bless the food?
We got Phoenix in the back.
Yes, sir, Brother Phoenix. Yes. Because we want to stay on time only because we got a wedding, we got plenty of performers today, and we got a lot going on. So let's rise. You want to say the prayer? Thank you. Face the east.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Yah, for bringing us all here. Thank you for waking us up this morning to give you praise and glory. We ask that you continue to bless us and to call upon your name for all things. We thank you for this food that you have given us to eat, and thank you for the unification among the brothers and sisters. And we thank you, Yah, and give you praises. Hallelujah.
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 Hallelujah. We'll be back promptly at 4 o'clock. And before we break, I just have another announcement. We're going to go off the air. And then we have another announcement.